Hi, Jason Hewitt here with Kicks Unlimited. I'm continuing along with the top 10 questions that I've gotten in regards to how to choose a martial arts school. And today is kind of a fun question. That is, how long does it take to earn a black belt? So this question is interesting because any instructor or owner that you ask, you're probably going to get a slightly different answer. In my system, we teach American Taekwondo, and it takes about 3 to 4 years to earn a black belt. What I want to say is, let's go back, and I want to give you a little bit of information in regards to black belt. And you hear a lot of that talk. Oh, are you committing to a black belt? Are you ready to earn your black belt? And that is done primarily because we're trying to help students to set an intermediate or long-term goal. So in my school, it's 3 to 4 years to earn a black belt, and you may say, boy, that sounds like a long time for a child or even an adult, and it is a long time. We do teach kids and adults about that commitment. However, I want you to be careful when you get involved in that commitment because there's some things that you really need to know. First off, let's talk a little bit about the belt. Okay, black belt the concept of black belt came from Okinawa in Japan. You start with a white belt, and because you were training outside back in those days, your belt would go from white to a green to brown, and eventually it would turn black because you were outside, the belt was getting dirty. So now in the United States, we've got a lot of different color belts, and every system's a little bit different. In our system, we have a white belt and a gold belt and an orange. They progressively get darker until black belt. A lot of people think, oh, black belt, master of the martial arts. But what I can say is I've been training 27 years, and the longer you train, the more you realize you don't really know that much. And I know it's a humbling experience. So be careful when you hear the term master or someone's a self-proclaimed master. Be careful when you hear that because that's just not true. The other thing I want to say is in terms of how long does it take, there's two main different types of programs in the U.S. right now. And there's a lot of subcategories of these. There are schools that have a custom curriculum and that test students as they're ready. Okay, so what I mean by that is if I'm working with a student and I think he or she is ready to move up to the next belt level, I, the instructor, make that determination and then I test that student for the belt. I would say about half the schools, or maybe a little over half, fall into that category in the United States now. The other half uses what's called a rotating curriculum. And you might say, well, what is that? A rotating curriculum is where all the students in the school test at exactly the same time. So every 2 months or every 3 months, the entire school tests, irregardless if they know the curriculum or not. And you may ask yourself, well, why would I want my child or myself to earn a belt when we don't know the curriculum? I'll try to keep this short, but basically, in different parts of the country right now, owners thought to themselves, boy, it sure would be a lot easier if we could hire less qualified staff, and if everyone's testing, they don't really have to do a lot of thinking. They just test everybody. It was more of a business move, and I truly believe that is not the right way to present rank to a student or help a student achieve their goals by just simply handing that out. So good question to ask is, what's the testing process in your school? And if an instructor says to you, everyone tests at the same time every 2 or every 3 months, I would advise you to not enroll in that school. Now, the one exception to that would be your young kids, your 4 and 5-year-olds. Most schools are going to use a standard testing. Every 2 or 3 months, the kids are going to test. At that age, the skills are so basic that it makes a little bit more sense to do it that way. However, when you're talking kids that are 6, 7 years old or older that have the ability to learn and memorize the martial arts, I really believe it's important to not just award those belts. So, having standards, having high standards, if you're paying good money, having high standards is a great thing. Anyways, there's a little bit of information in terms of how long it takes. Just to sum things up, in my school, it's 3 to 4 years. On average, it can take longer. Some kids and adults get there a little bit faster. But the final point that I'm going to leave you with is just be careful in the guarantees that an instructor or an owner makes. If they're guaranteeing that they can get you to black belt in 2 years or 3 years guaranteed, I would advise you not to enroll in that school because every student's going to progress at a different speed. If you have questions in regards to this, feel free to send me an email. Otherwise, we'll see you next week.